hopefully it's going to go there.
Hi, everybody. I guess this is my Ask Me Anything. Is that right?
That's what it's called.
We got Brianne off camera here prompting me.
Off camera.
No, she's on camera.
But off camera. And I have to check stuff because there have been times where things have like cut out. All right. So as long as we can kind of see that you're going.
Okay.
All right. So Marc's going to answer the questions that I'm going to pitch to him. And we're going to go through the Patreon ones first, and then we will get to the live questions as well. So Legends Con says, will you be at Baltimore Comic Con?
I will. And there's the possibility I might have a fairly big announcement about the next comic book project there. Not definite yet, but we're hoping.
Okay, cool.
So please bring books for me to sign. I'll be at the Hero Initiative table all weekend.
Jason Humphreys says, you've been in 2 factions. How do your experiences compare between them?
Well, one is liver and onions, and one is good pizza. You can figure out which ones I'm talking about.
I think I can figure that one out. Josh Mabry says, in the video where you were training Clark and Rachel, like that was a phone video?
Yeah.
What game were the cards you were using from? It's been killing me ever since I watched it.
It's a game that both Clark and Rachel own, and I don't know what the name of the game is actually.
I forget what it's called, but if you just search like movie trivia cards on Amazon, you'll find it. It's like the first one that pops up.
Yeah, we asked some questions from, is it Fred Willard's movie trivia book?
Yeah, that one's
Fred Willard of all people.
I know, who knew?
That one's confusing.
There are some hard ones in that. Okay, Nazario Montenegro says, when will you make a play for the singles belt? I mean, I guess soon? I don't know.
Keep watching.
It just depends.
Keep watching. You have to. I got a little thing called Ethan Irwin in front of me first.
The #1 contender. Sorry, moving that back. Well, #1 contender matches first. So
yeah,
that's coming up.
Yeah, I think that's going to be on August 11th.
Okay.
I think.
Very good. Richard Begg says, where do you derive your sense of humor from? What comedic personalities, friends, or family members inspire the persona you bring to the Schmodown or life in general?
Well, I think I got my sense of humor as a defense mechanism. You know, when you're not a jock and you're not one of the popular kids, especially like a private Catholic school in the 70s and 80s, it was a self-defense. So instead of getting bullied, I would say something witty and sarcastic. And literally in 6th grade, people started paying me for insults. So I monetized it even back then. Family members, my mom is super funny. A bunch of my aunts on her side are super funny. As far as comedic personalities, I love Whoopi Goldberg. There's that new comedian, Hannah. I'm trying to figure out last name. Who just did that special Nanette, which if you haven't watched it on Netflix, is awesome. She's really great. Is Oscar Wilde's a big influence, obviously. I mean, you know, all sorts of stuff. And I just try and be a version of myself on Schmodown.
Corey Quinto says, big Fife Club fan, where did your love of musicals come from, considering I never took you as a musicals person until you played Bateman? And if there was a Patreon exhibition match on musicals, who would you like to face?
My degree is in theater. I majored in theater in college. So as someone who cannot sing and cannot dance, I find musicals fascinating because to me it's like watching quantum physics happen. And some of the best stories are told through music. You know, there's something so primal about music that even without lyric, music can make you feel certain emotions. So I'm just fascinated by them. I would definitely do a musicals match on Patreon. I don't know who else is sort of a theater nerd like me.
I mean, I do have a degree in theater as well.
Oh, then we should do that. I had no idea. Oh, well, that would be fun.
It would be fun. I just rewatched 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, and like I feel like it just doesn't hold up.
No.
But it's fun. It's still fun.
It's fun-ish.
Just like Carousel does not hold up.
Oh God,
and I can't stand
it. Is awful. Carousel should be called "You Burnt Dinner." You'll know what that means if you watch Carousel.
Billy Paulahan says, "Oh hi, Mark. Who would you consider your biggest rival in the whole Schmodown?"
You know, the rivalry stuff is fun. I do this mostly to challenge myself. But as far as people that I would like to play, If Sam ever came out of retirement, I would like to try against him. I would love to play Drew McWeeny because we've been friends forever, and he's just a font of knowledge. And of course, Bibiani, I would love a rematch with him. It would be nice to defeat him since our first match. I think at that time was the highest scoring match ever. So yeah, it'll be fun to do that.
If you haven't seen that match, go back and watch it. Deanna McKenzie says, would you be teammates with Mara?
Sure, because then I don't have to do any heavy lifting because she's so damn good. Oh yeah, no, Mara's a force to be reckoned with. I think Mara and Ethan, I think, are going to be neck and neck for Rookie of the Year this year because they're both so smart and so quick on their feet and so calm that I think it's going to be. We might have a split vote. We might have a tie this year.
I mean, it could be.
Because they're both.
Why not?
They're both equally deserving. So.
Scott Moulter says, what is the comic book or superhero show that got you interested in writing comic books?
Spider-Man was what got me interested in comic books back in the day. Getting interested in writing comic books, I sort of fell into that. I had no grand plans of ever being a writer, let alone being one 25 years later, still getting paid to do it. But Spider-Man got me into reading and comic books, and Spider-Man at Sesame Street. But I would say the influences on writing, people like Alan Moore and Scott McCloud and Grant Morrison, Marv Wolfman, Chris Claremont back in the day, people that spun these wonderful stories that are now, everyone in pop culture knows those stories really influenced me and made me want to try and see if I could tell stories that were one iota as good as those stories were.
Luke Redmond says, how do you find time to be at Collider Studios so much?
Well, it's not that much. It's only a couple of hours every week or so. So, I could spend that time sleeping, or I could spend that time competing in movie trivia with my friends. And I can sleep when I'm dead.
True. Brooklyn Vale says, number 1, what is your favorite sandwich? I always love that question. Number 2, what's your favorite DC animated film?
Right now, my favorite sandwich is an open-faced turkey sandwich on toasted white bread with gravy.
And mashed potatoes?
Mashed potatoes and stuff underneath.
Yes, so like
the
an
Tally
open
Ranch
face.
Here in Burbank has the best sort of comfort food. Midwest sort of, I need to get fatten myself up for the winter kind of food.
I've got to check that out. I haven't had that there. Open-faced turkey sandwich.
Open-faced turkey sandwich, yeah. And what is my favorite DC animated film? Probably New Frontier. Because they did a really, really great job of transcribing or whatever the equivalent is, of adapting Darwin's great book into a really great comic moving. So yeah, that one. And I love the visuals in Batman Ninja. I'm not sure it made any sense to me, but it was sure cool to look at with the sound off.
Hong Chi Yen says, what is your favorite decade of film?
Oof, that's tough. 30s were amazing. You had all those great Universal horror films. You had The Wizard of Oz, you had Gone with the Wind, you had Citizen Kane. The 70s were great because that's where we got Coppola and Scorsese, but that's also where we got this blockbuster mentality that's destroying the universe.
Yes.
I would probably have to say the 80s because I was a child, teenager in that decade, and there was so much stuff that really stuck with me, whether it was Back to the Future or Tim Burton's Batman or Bill Murray's career or Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that stuff, and the Superman movies. We didn't have the inundation of genre stuff that we have now, so everything felt more special. And it wasn't, as a geek culture, wasn't cool. It was, oh, you like those movies? So I'd probably say the 80s, because that's the one I lived through. But if I had to pick one where I wasn't alive, I'd say the 30s for sure.
Let's see. Luke Redmond says, what is your favorite soda?
I'm not a big soda drinker. I generally only drink it when I'm having like spicy soda, Mexican or Korean or Indian. But my favorite old soda that's hard to find in Los Angeles is Verner's. It's sort of
yeah, I know Verner's.
It's ginger ale, but
you can sometimes find that more in like the liquor section of a grocery store.
And this isn't soda, but it's bubbly and it's definitely a California cliche. I'm obsessed with LaCroix.
Of course, love LaCroix.
Peach
LaCroix
pear
is the best.
Is it LaCroix?
No, LaCroix.
Oh, okay. I love it. And I know that's cliche, but I don't care.
Basic, so basic. Oliver says,
I'm a basic bitch. That's
will we see you in the team division again? If so, who would you like to team up with?
We're wasn't something about that posted
Something,
today?
yes, but we can't say anything about it here.
No.
But we can say that you're doing it.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a teammate.
Teams have been chosen.
Yes.
Managers have been chosen.
Mm-hmm.
It will be interesting. My teammate, there's some history.
Very excited. Now we are finished with the Patreon questions, so we can get into the live questions.
Okay,
I'm gonna
5 more minutes. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we
I'll
got 5 more minutes. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Let's kind of go up as far as we can. I'll read off. I think that's as far as I can go. Okay, hold on, everyone. How important is it that your on-screen personality closely matches your real personality? From Patrick Harden.
Yeah, Patrick, I think I needed to. I think that was seen when I was in the Lions Den and did that heel turn. That's not my go-to place. I can get mad and I can fight when I need to, but it felt like that just wasn't a real comfortable fit for me. I like my teammates, but it wasn't the real thing. And I don't want to be, I have a hard enough time remembering what I've said in my own life. I don't need to have 3 different versions of me out there. It's hard to keep up. So I'm a little bit bigger on the screen, I think, than in real life. Probably not much.
Jackson Barber asks, how do you see the state of the Schmodown? And then his follow-up question is, what exhibition match must you be a part of?
I think the Schmodown is great. I think the state of it's great. I mean, there's growing pains for all internet content. It's just what happens in the life cycle of these new formats. But I think it's great. I think we've got a bunch of great newcomers coming in who invigorated things. It's a really good group of people. And exhibition match I'd love to be a part of. There's a couple. I really want to do a cult films exhibition match because I think that we need to talk about people like John Waters and Ken Russell.
I just saw Serial Mom.
Oh, Serial Mom's amazing.
So good.
And I would love to do a horror movie match. We're talking about that. And yeah, I would love to do a period match. I would love to do one where we pretend it took place in the 70s and do like, current releases and it's like 1978 and you play because I know that a lot of the younger fans don't know a lot of those movies and are a little bit loath to go back and watch something that's old or boring.
Yeah.
But there's so many great movies that everything that you like now was deeply influenced by so many of those films released in the 70s. And doing a period one like afros and bell bottoms and lava lamps. So I'm cheating by answering every question 3 times.
Of course. As Patrick Harden says, as you are currently writing Supergirl, has that experience sparked a new interest in other characters?
Oh, absolutely. And Supergirl, my first issue, Supergirl 21, comes out this upcoming Wednesday. And the artist on it is the great Kevin Maguire, known for doing the famous Justice League with Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. So it's a thrill after being a fan of him for 30 years to be able to work with him. Yeah, Supergirl's fun. I'm really enjoying writing her. The take that we came up with I think is really interesting. But I got to write, minor spoiler, Hal Jordan appears in the first issue. And I really want to write Hal Jordan now because he's kind of a dude bro jerk, but he's also kind of cool as well. He's a fun character to write. Nazario
Montenegro says, how do you think your chances of winning any belt by year's end? So what do you think your chances are? Percentage wise.
I think chances are good that I'll be contending. I think I can hopefully make it to that final match for the belt, but who knows? As we've seen in every match, there are variables that can bring down even the greatest players. So
Becky Yaboya says, any interest in being part of the Schmodown in any capacity other than as a competitor?
Yeah, definitely. I did call a match one. I would love to be on behind the desk for the Mark Ellis Christian Harloff match. I think that would be a blast, but I think everybody here wants to be at the desk on that one. I think we're going to be musical chairs asking questions.
That would be fun.
Yeah, and I would like to do, for Patreon, I would like to do some matches where I could write the questions for certain niche things that I think would be a lot of fun. I will be as involved as they want me to until I annoy them and they kick me out. But I love hanging out with everybody here. And it really reminds me of doing theater in college. It's everybody coming together to do one cool thing. So
we're going to take 2 more questions. Corey Morissette says, what is your favorite and least favorite category on the wheel?
My least favorite category, there's a couple. Westerns, just because it's impossible, because it's mostly movies made in the 50s with the same 4 actors over and over again. Movie release dates is just statistical minutia that I don't really know and don't have any interest in knowing. And Pixar. I love the Pixar movies, but there's so much crazy minutia about Pixar movies, like how many treads were on Wally's right wheel in the first 5 minutes of. I don't care. I don't care.
It gets real deep there.
It gets real deep. So those are my least favorites. My favorite categories, I love horror movies, 70s, Oscars, classics, Meryl Streep. Yeah, I mean, most of them I really enjoy. There are very few that I don't like, and you just heard them. And if I never get asked another Sandlot question in my life, I'll be thrilled.
Okay, so going along with that, Jonathan Peck asks, what's your biggest weakness of categories? So not necessarily ones you don't like, just
sure.
weak.
I think 90s and 2000s have blind spots in them because especially in the 90s, there was that Tarantino Sundance effect where every movie was the same movie. A bunch of witty guys do a heist or a robbery, and they all had generic names. Then you have the Steven Seagal movies and that, where they all had names like Hard Target or Bloody Fist or Kick Fury, which are all just words. So there's some blank spots there. And I thought I would like Festival Darlings, but I've watched the one time that was asked.
They said it's gonna be revamped.
Because it was Festival Darlings from 2013. It was all very specific. But that one, that's one that I would either be great at or I would completely not be great at. There's no middle ground with that. So. Well,
that is it for today for Marc Andreyko. Any final words to the patrons?
Well, I see one last question on this.
Yeah.
Patrick, you asked me when I wrote Nightbreed, did I get to meet Clive Barker? I haven't met Clive before. We talked via email and over the phone. I was working on the book. And the Nightbreed Director's Cut is a fantastic version of that movie. And the comic book I did, Clive signed off on and gave plot stuff. And it takes place before the first movie and after the first movie. There's 4 trade paperbacks out from Boom. And if you buy them and come to Baltimore Comic Con, I'll sign them for you.
Hooray!
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Wish me luck.
Bye.